Hey, good morning, CSL Palm Desert and beyond. We're so very glad to have you.
Oh,
Terry, we have special guests, Melanie Taylor and Terry Wollman today. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get this started. I've missed you guys. I miss seeing you guys. That's
wow.
what's so hard. I
I
just miss
know.
We
seeing
really miss you.
people.
We miss you too so much. We miss our family. We miss coming out there. It's, I my mantra is, excuse me. I miss the things I used to complain about. Not you, but
I know. I miss my friends in LA. I would complain about the drive, but
right.
it's like I need to. You have to recast everything now, and everything's in a reframe. So, how are you guys doing? Tell us about what's been going on. I know that everyone's lives have changed from the shelter, and I see you guys on Facebook. I see you guys playing around a little bit, having some fun with
Yeah.
nightly outfits, your quarantine outfit.
I know. Right now it seems a little trivial, but yeah, we'd love to get back to that. We'd love to like not only have my crazy wardrobe to think about.
Well, we actually shut it down early on because since we both travel a lot and we're kind of hyper aware, uh, I believe it was March 13th that we just said we need to, hunker down, stay safe, start washing our hands, wear a mask,
Friday the 13th was pretty much that was
just
that.
stay away from folks.
And I had been home for about a week from Vegas, and even that weekend was a little bit weird because things were just starting to rumble under, right? So when I'm home, I'm home. I'm kind of a homebody anyway,
Hmm.
and we have a beautiful home. We have nothing to complain about. We've got, listen, if this had happened 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it would be a lot more desperate, I think. We have so much to keep us busy and occupied in movies. You already know. Everyone who's watching knows we're very blessed that we have, we can stay busy and keep our minds active and stay in touch, my word.
Yes.
Zoom, the guy whoever invented Zoom, thank you and congratulations, and we're sorry because
I'm
we're wringing the heck out of this technology, aren't we?
It forced everybody to go into a new realm of technology. Those of us who've been resisting, like me, and we were pushed into it in such a major way. And then, of
Mhm.
course, everything, not just the pandemic, but everything that's going on in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
all the demonstrations and things. It's one hell of a time, isn't it?
It's
It's a
Sure is.
profound, yeah.
It
It's
really is.
profound.
It's a global awakening
yeah. Well,
and shaking up, and it's a great time of discomfort for a lot of people, and I think that's a really important part of what's going on right now. People need to be uncomfortable.
I
yeah.
don't think this would have happened if not for the pandemic. It wouldn't have
Really?
looked the same.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's not like this is new, right? I'm just going to go there.
It,
Oh
It's
well,
no,
yeah.
this
it's
is
not,
not new.
not. Yeah, it's not new at all. I think that the entire thing just, in other words, the universe always puts together all the parts to make things work.
Come on now.
Right.
And
That's a
so,
word.
so
That's
it,
a word.
exactly. So now, this is part of how all of this works. And I think that there's no such thing as accidental timing. There's no such thing as coincidence.
No.
All these things are moving all in a direction, and it's doing it in such a way that I hope more and more people. My prayer is that more and more people are awakened, and the pain of awakening is the pain of giving birth, and
Yes.
something is being birthed here, and it's
Yes.
causing. I mean, it's funny. I was just thinking this. I was thinking about my niece just had a baby last week, and
Oh, congratulations, Uncle
Yes.
Joe.
another one. Yeah. And so, but I was thinking about a woman in pain and who is giving birth. Usually, looks at her husband when she's screaming and going ah, and looking at rage, and
I
he's
know. How
what
could you?
you know. And so I feel like maybe there's a little bit of that energy going on. People are going. Some people are screaming, some people are, and I think it's time that we just sort of at the very end something wonderful can happen, and I'm just praying that it does.
Well,
Speaking of which, I love one of your songs that you do is "What's Going On."
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you guys do that for me? Because I love that song.
We love it too, and it's
Sure.
so funny. We just kind of added it last night when I wrote to you,
Hmm.
and this song was written in 1970. For those of you who don't know, it feels and it is timeless. It's a timeless statement, and it can be applied to so many situations where we find ourselves questioning. So I think this is one way. Music, especially, is one way to question yourself into the answers, and so this is timeless. What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. I wasn't gonna do this. Mother, mother, there's too many Oh, my Father, we don't need to escalate. You see that war is not the answer. For only love can conquer hate. You know we've gotta find a way to bring some understanding and some peace and love here today. Because bigger life, brother, bigger signs, brother, don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, and you will see. Oh, what's going on? Say, what's going on, people? Tell me what's going on. Oh, what's going on? Ooh. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, my mother, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, my Father, everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Just because our skin is brown. Yeah, yeah. We gotta find a way. Are you with me? To bring some understanding in a day. Woo! Bigger lies, brother, and bigger signs, brother. Don't you punish me with your brutality. No, 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 no. Talk to me. We're gonna make you see. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Yeah. We're waiting on the world to change, yes. Ooh, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me, talk to me, talk to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I
10
need,
o'clock in the morning.
I know, honey, 10 o'clock in the morning. You're putting that
But you know, service is earlier, so I feel like this is a gift.
Right. We're used
Yeah,
to getting up early with you to
I'm
do
used
this.
to your 7:30 sound checks, but I love it.
Oh man, I needed that today. I
Yeah,
needed it.
man. Me too. I guess we all do.
Yeah.
So what I like to do anytime I have guests on, musical guests, I like to just go back to each one of you and say, give me a little bit about your history, about your religious upbringing, and was there a moment when you had this aha moment about, I'm not going to call you guys religious scientists, but you guys are spiritually awakened and you have spiritual practices. So I would like to know, how you were raised and when did that light come on in your head, and how did that happen?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Either one.
I'll start.
Okay.
I grew up Jewish in Miami, born and raised in Miami. Not extremely religious, although I was bar mitzvahed. We've got a deeper heritage in our great grandparents. There was a cantor actually in the family back in Europe before the Ellis Island and Holocaust, trek for safety and to find a better way to live and to stay alive. So I was brought up moderately religious, but I always had a sense, and I think some of it had to do with my environment, not my family environment, but actually living in a tropical place, part of the world, being near the water and birds and animals. So to me, I always found my spirituality through nature and through music. And I was a little bit of sort of a cross between a rebel and a seeker. You know, very curious and always questioning. And the questioning was not always encouraged in traditional religious training. However, I had some beautiful teachers in high school that had us reading Krishnamurti and the Bhagavad Gita and just various things, or at least encouraged us to do that. So, cutting through Center for Spiritual Materialism, I mean, some pretty heady stuff that some my friends and I were passing around and trying to figure out what that all meant, and that, along with having trauma earlier in my life, in my childhood, things happening to me. Um, and including losing my dad when I was 17 in an accident, and being on my own, finishing high school, not kind of, living alone my last year of high school. It grew me up, but it really forced me to question, why am I here, and what is my purpose? And because I didn't end up with my dad in that accident, which I was supposed to have, you know, with the way the plan was set. And that morning I woke up and I just didn't feel like going. I really, in my lowest despair, in trying to climb out of this hole of loss, I really, the question kept coming up: what are you supposed to be doing here? Because you're here for a purpose, and that has really propelled me to continue to nourish and learn and reach out and question, uh, and get comfortable more with the process of the questioning than the needing the answers. Uh, so that's been my spiritual path. I ended up, a dear friend of mine, Patty Linsky, who's a cantor, about 20 years ago, perhaps, asked me if I would start conducting her choir in Temple and be a choral director, and I had a huge learning curve on that, equal to the learning curve we're all having with technology right now, to be able to have these kind of conversations and performances. But it sort of it allowed me a chance to circle back to Judaism, from a participant, but also as an observer, and remarkably, so as a leader, because I was conducting not only the choir but the congregation, as you well know, and so I got a second chance to come around and revisit and reclaim the beautiful things of Judaism, while continuing to be equally at home in churches like yours. And I've always felt so welcome in your home. So thank you for that, Joe.
Thank you. Wow, that's quite the story, Terry. I didn't know all of that. I didn't know
We've
that.
never really talked about stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't, you know, I was, what I liked about these conversations that I've been able to have with the musicians online is, you know, we know each other in passing in a room, you know, on a Sunday, and how are you doing? What's going? What's the latest? Where are you performing? What's next? But we don't really get a chance to dive deep into stuff like this. So I really enjoy this time together with the people that I've been able to talk to. So Melanie, you're having a personal summer. I saw that.
It's the studio.
It's hot.
There's so much gear on. I mean, what you guys aren't seeing the goodies, but it's like a NASA control center.
We've got preamps and tubes and all
like
kinds of stuff.
Racks for real, as high as my head. So yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's all right, honey. Fan away. You know me. I'm always.
Hey, I know you're always. Yeah, your engine runs hot too.
The other day we were at the center, and I had to put on the gear that I have to wear to go to work.
Yeah.
I'll try. When you're taking the next song, I'll find it and I'll come out with it.
You have fabulous shirts, by the way. I have to say.
Thank you. So Melanie, what about you? Where did you start out? Where did you grow up, and how did that happen? How did you find your way in the spiritual path? Because I read your posts, and I know that you definitely have this power and this presence within you, that there's a strong belief and a structure there. So how did that come to pass?
He's Creole.
Yeah, right. I did. It's true though. I grew up in New Orleans, born and raised in New Orleans, into a Catholic family. We have parishes in New Orleans. We don't really have neighborhoods. Probably a lot of y'all know that. And I know there's parishes in different states in the Union. But anyway, so yeah, I grew up going to Catholic church, and the first song I learned was the Ave Maria. You know, I wore veil and gloves and everything, very Catholic. But the thing about growing up in New Orleans, at least for me, is that there's you know, there's voodoo and Catholicism, and everything sort of coexists side by side. There's a reason why we call it the Big Easy. So there's an acceptance of a lot of different points of view, spiritual, religious, whatever. And so New Orleans is a very magical place to me, and it always has been, even since I haven't really been back very much. I was always fascinated by the mystery of God and the mystery of spirituality, and sort of the facets and the things I couldn't see. Like even the Bible says, I see through a glass darkly. That's kind of like, that was always in my head. Like there's more. There's just got to be more, because to talk about God the way we talk about God, I think is to diminish God. So I feel like I always thought since I was a kid there was more. So anyway, fast forward to growing up in the 70s, and reading, like Terry said, I just read everything. I read Our Bodies Ourselves, and I learned how to take ownership of my body, and to figure out what that meant in terms of how I approached my spirituality, and how I wanted to stay strong within myself as a woman. My mom is a feminist, and so we were always, like Terry, I think, too, questioning things. I was raised by my grandmother primarily, because my mom was a young mom, and she was teaching, and always coming back and forth to our home base. And so my grandmother, to honor my grandmother, I told her I would go to church until I turned 18, and after that I was done. I made my first Holy Communion and confirmation. I went through all of the rituals, and as soon as I decided I was ready to leave the church, is who I really understood who Jesus was. There was some kind of a script that flipped for me, and I realized that he was this amazing man who walked here, but there were a lot of amazing men who walked, and women. And so I don't know, I began to realize that he was an emissary, but that there were so many, and that the God that I knew was so much greater, and the Spirit of God was in everything. And to this day, that's how I feel. And in my 30s, I think I started I think it was, late 20s, early 30s, I did A Course in Miracles. Hello. And after that, I was like, well, that was that. It was very comforting to me to know that I didn't need a church to talk to God, or to be in the presence of that Spirit and that beautiful, unconditional hand of strength and power and love. And it has just evolved from there. I got my teacher training for yoga in 2012, and that was another awakening, to know that I could use my gift in a different way, and to talk to people, to write prayers, to sort of minister, to excavate great things to share with people, like you say on my Facebook. So that's my ministry, and I accept that. I know that my purpose is to share my gift in a multifaceted way, not just as a singer. I like to think if I lose my voice tomorrow, I know I would still have purpose, because I am my purpose, and Spirit works through me to deliver that. So that's one version of how I came.
And that's great. I mean, and I'm thinking back at the times that I've known you, coming out to the center, and there were times when, work was sort of not in abundance.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Let's just say work was not in abundance, but it always, but then next thing you know, you turn around and you'd be like, oh, I got this, and I'm off for, a concert to do this, and I'll be out. So it was, we're just watching the cycle of life, observing it from my perspective. It's kind of unique to watch, watch people who are our guest artists, because I know, when you're in the arts like that, it's a challenge, and it's not like there's a paycheck every week. There's a lot of ebb and flow. Let's just say
That's
that.
right.
A lot
I
of
love
ebb and
that.
flow, and
That's what we call
there's
it too.
a lot of ebb, and sometimes there's a lot of flow. And
That's right. That's when you have to lean into your creativity. I mean, we are creative beings, all of us. And so we all have to remember that we always have something to offer. We just might have to dig a little deeper to find it.
Yeah.
And
I love your stories.
Thank you.
I love that. I love how and you two, you make such a great little couple together.
Thank you.
So pick one of your songs. I mean, I sort of leaning toward, the one I'm kind of leaning toward right now is Bonnie Raitt's Home. I love that song.
Oh, Isn't that a beautiful
Can
song?
we do
Yeah,
that
we can
one?
do that.
Sure, we can do that.
That was actually, I'm glad you requested it because that was my request to Melanie recently that we learn it.
Yeah.
It was originally, I first heard it by Carla Bonoff, who was the writer of that
Right.
song.
So this song is so great because it's kind of like about being on tour and being on the tour bus, and you know, you leave the venue and you put on your sweats and you climb on the bus, and the trip might be 4 hours. It's usually longer. It could be at all, but that's when your mind sort of goes out for a while because you're just sort of being rocked on the road a little bit. And now that we are all home and sheltering, most of us, this song seems even more poignant. Traveling at night, the headlights were bright. We've been up many an hour, and all through my brain came the refrain of home and its warm fire. And home sings me of sweet things. My life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain, though I'm standing still. The people I've seen, they come in between the cities of tiring life. The trains come and go, but inside you know the struggle will soon be a fight. And home sings me of sweet things. My life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain, though we're standing still. Home sings me, ready? Home, oh shoot, sorry. I was ready. Home sings me of sweet things. My life here has its own wings to fly over the mountain, though we're standing still. Okay? Though we're standing still. One more time. Though we're standing still.
Yay, thank you.
A little stillness is good for you, right?
I love that. Yeah, I found that to be true. A lot, actually. So, so here's what the CDC wants me to wear when I go to church, right?
Yeah.
Not just this.
Wow.
No,
We
no,
have
no,
ours.
no. That's nothing.
Wait, he's like, wait a minute.
Oh,
Oh, shoot.
that's your gear.
You look like Dustin Hoffman in the China Syndrome. I mean, that's a lot, Dr. Joe. How can they even hear what you're saying?
Well, because I'm a spitter.
Yeah, we
Right.
are, aren't we? See, I know it's such a shame. The singing thing. My feelings were so hurt when I read that we were the biggest.
I know. I just read that online. I
I
thought
was like, how dare you? Oh, yeah. Always
singers are,
spit on me.
singers are a 9 risk out of 10. I'm thinking, wait. So yeah, we're talking about how we're going to even reopen the center, because I mean, if I'm wearing that and we can't sing, and it's like, but we have such a wealth and so much rich richness online on our offerings that we're doing
Yeah.
every single day.
Good for
Right.
you, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We watched not Levi. God bless. Gary. Gary Lynn. That
Wow.
song he did. Okay, wait a minute. I know this is our moment, but that "Love Be With You, Peace Enfold You."
Oh.
I was like, pause, write down, pause, pause, write down. Here's a blessing from Gary. I mean, really, if y'all didn't see that, you need to go turn that on finally on the YouTube channel for the center.
It was exquisite.
Truth
Yeah.
come
we've
through
had
you.
we've
What a
had some great
prolific,
stuff.
he is incredible, really.
Yeah. And I mean, every artist that we've had on here has just been fantastic, and just sharing their gifts. It's something we don't get to do. We don't have these venues, and people are enjoying this. And we're getting quite a few people logging in every single day. I mean,
That's
every
so
single
great.
day. Yeah.
That's great.
Well,
Yeah.
people need it. People
Yeah.
need to stay connected.
Yeah, and they are. And what do we say? The church is never the building has been closed, but we've been doing more church than we've ever done before.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
We're putting
That's
out
such a
more
blessing.
content. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
at this time. This is a rough time. So how do you feel? So I know you're an interracial couple. Let's just be real. And I'm talking. If you've seen the shows that I've been doing, have you watched anything with Jafon Seeley on my thing? And
A couple of Sundays ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've had over 10,000 people watch that.
Wow.
Wow. With 10,000 people watching. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
That's magnificent. Wow.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of feedback from that, I'm sure. Good.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of really good feedback, well, positive and negative, but
Okay.
more challenging than anything else. But how do you feel? I mean, what's going through your mind right now? I mean, this is a really hard time, and share with me what you're feeling as you're walking through this experience.
I want to preface because I think Melanie has a deeper perspective than I do, being black. But I will say that it's been pretty heated in our house. We've had a lot of passionate conversations and deep conversations circling around everything that's going on from both of our perspectives. And as I said earlier, when I see the discomfort that's going on in people, I think it's a very important ingredient to the change that is so long overdue.
Yeah.
That we've been watching our whole lives. The stories that I grew up with, in my dad and mom telling me in Miami 2 years before I was born about the signs of where dogs and Jews and people of color, the N-word cannot go in a major city.
Mm-hmm.
I just interviewed a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor, Rose Schindler, on my podcast last week, and to hear her stories and to hear her perspective of what's going on right now, not only with coronavirus, but with all the racism and the unsettling and the ugliness that's going on right now, and the tragedy. It's just, we've been talking every day from morning to night. But
Mm-hmm.
Melanie, what's on your heart about this right now?
I feel like there's a world of feelings. I first of all want to say thank you for doing your part and wanting to educate and illuminate this for people who have not maybe taken the time to really understand the depth of it. It's as a Black woman walking in America, I vacillate between pain and rage and deep, deep despair. And then I'm hopeful, I feel encouraged. And then I feel, I feel all of that. And navigating all of that, I thank my spiritual practice. I thank my family. I thank this beautiful man I married. And I thank my yoga training because it teaches me to breathe through every moment. And, getting attached to the past is not healthy necessarily, but we can't forget it. Worrying about the future doesn't change what's coming, but we can recreate everything in this present moment. I think I'm very hopeful for America. America has to heal this original sin. This is our original sin, and until it's revealed, it cannot be healed. And, we don't get to choose when it shows up. I hate that George Floyd is sort of, he's been the harbinger of all of this, but this has been going on for 400 years. I'm 61 years old, and I can remember sitting in a segregated movie theater when I was 5, I think, my first movie at the movies. And I've been hooked ever since. So it's really not that long ago. And, I've been seeing pictures of Representative John Lewis, who walked with Dr. King across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1968 and getting hosed by police, and now he's standing in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue with a mask on. He's still here. So this is all for me very present and very modern. This is not ancient history. However, if we don't understand the history, we cannot change the future. And so my prayer is that everybody within the sound of my voice takes responsibility for your part in it. Everyone is going to have a different walk through this time. You don't have to walk around with your fist in the air, and you don't have to do everything, but you must do something. And if you don't know, ask. And if you don't, don't ask me. Go to Google. You have a computer in your hand. This is where I get a little heated. But I have to say, when I'm curious about needlepoint or how to play the guitar or piano, I Google it. So you can Google, tell me about the Black experience, or you can Google Black culture or Black history, or I suggest watching the 1619 Project if you have access to that. I suggest watching Ava DuVernay's 13th. I suggest knowing who your council people, now I don't mean to get political, but I'm telling you, this is the only way into it. You have to understand who is making the laws in your community. And you have to get to know them and find out where they stand so that we can expose the things that aren't working for people. Black people and white people, frankly, because we are all part of this mess. And I believe that it will change. I have to believe it, because you believe something into being, don't you? I believe it into being. And if I do my part, then at least I can say I did that. My part is to do my best to educate people, but also to be gentle with myself,
Right.
and not become bitter. And that's my work, and I work on it all the time. But I'm grateful for it to be here at this moment in time. I always knew that I would, even when I was a kid. I knew that I would see the end of a world and the beginning of a new one, and I am believing that was what I saw. And so I encourage you all to talk to one another, talk to your people. Don't try to convince anybody. Just be the example. Be the example of truth and knowledge and power and compassion.
Right.
There's a lot of people.
It is a challenge. I mean, you've seen what we've been doing, what we've been attempting to do,
Right.
and still I'm getting a lot of criticism that I'm not doing it right, and you're still falling short in so many different areas. So it's so frustrating, because I know that the center in general and what I've been trying to do through what limited way we're have the world right now through like a little speaker or a little camera at the top of a computer.
Right.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. So I every morning I wake up, I'm like, okay, what's mine to do? How can I
That's
move
right.
how can I move this needle a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more? And
That's right.
I think if everybody just keeps moving a little bit more in the right direction, eventually we'll have this swell of movement, which I think is happening.
It's
Uh,
already happening, and it's been in such a short time. So much change in such a short time, such a quickening. I have to believe that I want to say that you are doing everything you know how to do, and you have to just meet people where they are. And if they receive it, great. If not, that's not up to you.
yeah.
People have to do the hard, it's not going to feel good. And
Well,
you have
what
to,
here, what though, we could get it. I wanted to engage in just a little conversation about that, because how do I respond to a Black person who says I'm not doing enough, even though I'm trying to do the very best I am doing? How do I how should how it's not I mean, people in our congregation, I'm getting incredible support, and thank you for opening my eyes, and thank you for encouraging this,
yes,
and keeping the conversations going, and having that. I picked Javon Seeley because I wanted to have a young Black man who's
yeah,
actually experienced something, and he's got the rest of his life ahead of him, and it's like, how do
yeah,
you envision this? And he's got a spiritual grounding, and
right,
yet there's a lot of criticism that I'm getting from just the Black community that I'm not doing it right, and I'm thinking I'm trying everything to do what I know how to do,
right,
and engage in conversation, and ask the real questions that people think about but are afraid to ask, It's like, let's ask those so we can put it out on the table. I'm one to say, anytime you have something, put it all out on the table. We can sort through it. But if you keep it back, it never gets out on the table. Then it never gets discussed.
That's right.
So it's been a challenging for me. It's been a challenging time for me. So,
Joe,
I bet.
I wanted, before Melanie even
No, go ahead.
before you respond to
good.
with an answer, I want to respond to the question, which is so interesting to me and so relevant, because you are an open-minded, open-hearted, spiritual leader in an extremely inclusive community.
Mm-hmm.
And and that was clear to me from the day I met you years ago, and every time I'm in your church or listen to your words and hear you sing and hear you speak and watch you counsel and watch you comfort people and guide people and challenge people, and you are struggling. You're already woke. You've already been thinking about these things, and it's still difficult and it's still hard to get it right. I'm with you on that. I've been struggling too. I'm a pretty articulate guy and self-aware, and I have been struggling through the beginning of this, where I was being challenged by my black friends, directly or indirectly, through watching and listening to what people were saying, and even listening to Melanie talk, that being silent is not an option. If you don't say anything, then you're part of the problem right now. And I didn't know what to say. And
sometimes, well, that's what you say. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And we say, just listen. Just listen. I think a lot of what you're, and that's well said. I agree. Dr. Joe's, he's a boss. You tell people, I don't understand. I find it fascinating that black people are saying that you're not doing enough. And to that, if that was my brothers and sisters, I'd say, well, what would you like him to do? Because maybe you're asking something of him that you wouldn't ask of yourself. And think about, consider. So is this out of anger? Is this out of fear? Is this out of, where is this really coming from? Because maybe these are questions you should be asking yourself or your family or the people in your circle, like, how can we help people who want to help us?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to help people who want to help me and my people. And we're all, and even when I hear myself say that, I think, oh my gosh, I know I sound like Angela Davis. That's okay. She's one of my heroes.
That's not a bad thing.
But, we've been separated. And so we have to use this time to find our way back to one another. And that just comes from understanding the history, and mostly. And that the systems were set up in not a very unifying way.
I get it.
But the people that are criticizing you, I think, I kind of throw it back on them, but also remember, judge not. Judge not. Doing something is better than doing nothing. And so
how about if we
you can tell me, email me, and I'll set them straight.
All you got to do is go on Facebook, honey. It's all over my Facebook.
Oh, Lord.
How about change the world? Could we do that one?
Yeah.
Yes. We were rehearsing this last night, and I thought, I wish Eric Clapton would rewrite these lyrics to make them relevant to more, But sorry, Eric, no offense. I think it's beautiful just as it is. It's very provocative. I wish I get my little blog. If I could reach the stars, I'd pull one down for you, shine it on my heart, so you could see the truth, that this love I have inside is everything it seems. But for now I find it's only in my dreams that I can change the world. I would be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was really something good, baby, if I could change the world. be queen, even for one day. I take you as my king every time, waiting for the day then our love would rule in this kingdom we had made. Till then I'll be a fool, yes I will, wishing for that day when I would change the world. I would be the sunlight in your universe, and you would think my love was really something good, baby. If I could change the world, if I could. Change the world. Ooh, if I only could. I'll be a fool if I could change the world. We would be the sunlight in your universe. We would know that love was really something good, baby, if we could change the world, baby, if we could change the world, baby, yes we will change this world, heal this broken world, yes, yes we will. I know, you know, we know we will.
Wow. Wow. I'm just jamming over here. I'm just
Good, I see you, I love it.
people only see you on the screen, but I know you see me and I'm like,
I know he's
you're in it with us.
He's in it. He's just chilling and grooving. I love it.
no, I'm just taking it all in. All right, so I have one of those questions that you guys know my husband Trey, right?
Yeah, we love
bless,
Trey.
he's so sweet.
Yeah, sometimes he's a
Well,
You said it. No, you said it.
well, no, I mean he knows it, and you know, but what he's really a mess about is, you know, he is such a fan of entertainers and things, and I'm like, I said, he's just, you know, he's just totally enthralled with everybody, you know, and
he is enthusiastic. I agree.
you think, yeah, sometimes a little overly enthusiastic. So I want you to just think back, because you know what, you guys have an experience that very few people in life get to experience, and that is to be on a stage in front of thousands of people, and to hear the roar of a crowd and to feel that just move through your body.
Yeah.
You know, and to know you're a participant in that.
Yeah.
You know, that you're a part of that entire process that you know has this entire stadium moving and shaking, and that has to be one hell of a feeling, doesn't it?
It's incredible.
It is.
It's hard to. You can't really describe it. It is just a feeling. It's very visceral. I miss it. Oh my God, I miss it so much. It's probably the only thing I miss. I mean, I miss going out to dinner with my husband.
You miss hugging your mom.
I miss hugging my mama. I'm not gonna put her. I would never forgive myself if I knew I had the corona, the Rona.
Right.
Yeah, I miss hugging my. Of course, I miss that too. But in terms of what you're talking about, yeah, there's no comparison to that exchange of energy. There's nothing that compares to it, and we do it for you. You know, we don't. Doing this is great. However, when you're in a room and you can feel the heat and know that there's a conversation going on, even I think the largest audience I ever performed. Now, this is going to be a tricky question. Probably somewhere around 500,000.
Wow.
500,000 people at Hyde Park, and also Rock in Rio was around
That was incredible.
300.
Yeah.
400. He was there.
That was
It feels like one big person. It it just feels
It
like one
does.
big
It-
mass of humanity, because that's what you see. You see the sort of swirl and kind of mysterious thing. It's not that scary.
Yeah.
3 people is really scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
300,000 is just sort of turns into humanity just moving and swaying.
And feeling that energy, you know, I mean, and you know, that's what's funny. I mean, look, we have a little church. We got, you know, when I had 300 people, I feel like we're doing really well.
Yeah, you are. That is.
And you play off that energy, and now and today we're playing off, you know, a little bitty, you know, you're playing to a little, you know,
Yes.
gosh, not even the size of a dime that you're looking
Right.
at. And
I know.
and you're not getting that feedback and that energy.
No.
But I can't imagine what that would feel like to, you know, at the end of a concert when everybody's just kind of going nuts and you're just sort of like, I mean, I don't know how you'd sleep for hours after that.
Well, it's
takes
almost
a while.
unnatural, that amount of energy. But you use the word that I really love, participant, because it's not just about us. It is such an exchange of energy.
We miss that.
It's incredible. That's the part that is just unbelievable, and that might be the part that I miss the most. Also, it's the exchange. You know, that when you look out in the audience and you lock eyes with somebody, and they what they give back to you is tenfold, and
Absolutely.
it's just,
So give me some of your most memorable experiences, just a couple of them.
Oh my God.
Working with such and such an artist at this venue. This was like, you know, I worked with so and so, and that was one of the most incredible.
Oh my God, so many.
I'll call 3 out of
Okay,
mine
go.
while
That's
you're
fine.
thinking,
I know.
because one you mentioned about
Sorry.
playing for large groups of people. The largest group I had ever played for was in the Boston Commons when I was music directing and playing guitar with Wilson Phillips, like the first time, you know, like 25 years ago.
Right.
And we played for over 100,000 people. It was a couple of 100,000. It was amazing. I had never experienced that before. I would say, secondly, my very first concert experience, just because it was the first, touring with Billy Preston and being in Europe, and we played at an army base, you know, I don't remember how many people, but it was just unbelievably overwhelming to experience that, what I had dreamt about and trained for my whole life. And then I would say one of the culminations was the very first time I performed with Al Jarreau on television, and when I was music directing for Late Night Talk, and that level of interaction was because we were playing for millions of people. I mean, there was a studio audience, but I knew there were millions of people watching.
Right.
But it was terrifying, exhilarating, joyful. It was everything. I mean, I felt like when I got home that night, I think I've told you this before, you know, I came home, it was before we were married, and it was a long time ago, and I came home and I walked in the door of my home, and I just said out loud, I can die now.
You're right.
You know, because, and I
You do
didn't
feel
want
like
to
it
die.
sometimes.
I mean, we were, you know, but it was like,
That's how good you feel. You
It's
feel like you've done
amazing.
everything. Yeah.
what about you?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here thinking, because now, of course, there's like 18 things I want to tell you. One of the first things that comes to mind is, you know, performing in venues where I've been in the audience but never been on stage. The Hollywood Bowl is one of the best places to hear a concert, and certainly to perform. And performing with Barry Manilow at the Hollywood Bowl several times now, we've done it several times. But the first time, I remember thinking, this is the first time I've gotten to see this point of view, and I just was so full. It was so exciting to sing his songs with the orchestra and everything, and he was great always. And so that was one. Another one that stands out is 6 weeks sold out with Bette Midler at Radio City Music Hall, and my mom was in the audience, like opening night. That was thrilling, and everybody came. You never knew who you'd look out in the audience and see, Diana Ross or Prince or Donald Sutherland and Steven. Like, everybody came. That was a big deal. And one last one with that. Well, there's many, but one that really touched me was Quincy Jones. I toured with Quincy Jones in 2014, and we went to Montreux Jazz Festival, and to be at that legendary festival with him. With all his incredible arrangements and his legendary status. And his daughter was filming a documentary, which is actually running now. This was years ago, but so being there with Q and seeing and having, you know, time with him to talk and pick his brain. I was the one who was like, okay, here's what I want to know. What do you do when you have, you know, when you're feeling like not so creative? Like, I will pick a brain in a minute. Like, I will take that time. People are like, oh, you know, can I have your autograph? And I'm like, I want to know what you do when you get stuck on a piece of music.
Right.
It'll all be in the book. One last one I want to say. I was touring with Joe Walsh, and we went to perform at his high school auditorium.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were
wow.
having like a special, to honor him because he was like, kind of a big deal in
Sure.
graduating at high school. And so we went, and I forget, I want to say Michigan, I can't remember. And they did a fundraiser, and he came and we did a concert, and they had made T-shirts with his high school yearbook picture. And so that was quite special for him to full circle. His brother was in the audience, and maybe his father. So that was a very intimate kind of moment, but also how great for him to give that back to his community. So
Here you go.
I want to call out just two more of Melanie's because I got to live vicariously by being in the audience. But Melanie's opening night touring with Aerosmith.
Oh my God, I
was
forgot.
I can't cuss on your show, but it was unbelievable. Yeah, and also your opening night with John Mayer at the Beacon Theater in New York.
I was going to mention the Beacon.
They were just, talking about that, just the energy. Because I related as a performer, as a fan, as Melanie's husband, as everything. It was mind expanding.
So I want to say in closing in this, like just before I forget, because I forget everything. When we're having these home concerts, we call them we're artists in residence,
yes.
right? Those are the memories that I call up. It makes me very full. I lean on those sense memories of all those times gotten to be in the room where it happened. Mm-hmm. And when I struggle to be like, oh, I'm just itching to get back on stage, I just remember those moments. And in these moments with you and with our CSL family who's watching and listening, I remember that, and that fills me up so that I can give you what you deserve, and what and the passion and the fire that we feel. So thank you for acting training.
Mm-hmm.
Sense memory.
I feel it, and I know people that are watching are feeling it. So here's something funny. That concert with Bette Midler, was that in the winter?
We opened in October.
I was there.
What? In 1993?
1993, Trey and I took his then pregnant sister to New York City. We flew her up. We met her there, and the whole thing was about going to see Bette Midler in concert.
Oh my God, I have chills everywhere.
I know. I just got him right now, and I'm going, oh my God, Melanie was there. You were there.
That was me.
Yeah.
That crazy
mermaid on the left.
Oh my gosh.
And then there was like a snowstorm the next day, and there was I was there.
Man, isn't that something? Well, I guess it's destiny that we were meant to be friends.
Yes, and I'm like, oh my God, there it was. It started in So our relationship, we didn't know it started in 1993.
I'm gonna start claiming you as a 30-year-old friend.
Yeah, 27.
30 years.
So like 27 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 27 years. Give or take. We had a big gap in the middle where we didn't see each other. But
we were really busy raising kids.
I know.
Performing the whole thing.
We got a little busy. Oh, I love that. I can't wait to share that story.
So, all right. So you know what? We're already at the close of an hour. So awesome. Why don't you guys pick what song you guys want to close on? It's up to you.
Oh, this one.
Okay.
Okay, this is when we... I don't know if I should even tell the story.
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Oh, you should.
Okay, so he's going to tune. Before we start playing and singing, thank you all. I'm raising my hands to you. We are so grateful for you.
Yes, we are.
Do not worry. Don't let your heart be troubled. Breathe every day. Breathe into this new world that we get to create. What a privilege. What an opportunity. Don't be afraid. And if you're afraid, do it anyway. You have a beautiful leader in this man, our friend, Dr. Joe, our brother. He is guiding you into the light. Do not lose sight of this beautiful vision that we are all carrying. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting us come into your homes this morning. Love be with you. Peace enfold you. Spirit lift you. Breathe it in. Truth come through you. Make good flow to you. And let joy renew you till we meet again. Thank you, Gary Lynn Floyd, for those words. And thank you for letting us sing you out. There's a rose in a fisted glove, and the eagle flies with the dove. And if you can say, well, there's a rose in a fisted glove, and the eagle flies with the dove. And if you can't be with the one you love, yeah, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Sing, love the one you're with. Oh, love the one you're with. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Don't sit crying, talking about the good times you had. There's a girl and a boy sitting right next to you, yes. And he's just waiting for something to do. 'Cause there's a rose, sweet rose in a fisted glove, and the eagle flies with the dove. And if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Yeah, here we go. Say, do 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 do. Turn your heartache right into joy. She's a girl and you're a boy. Get it together, come on, make it tonight. You ain't gonna need any more advice. Here we go. 'Cause there's a rose in a fisted glove, and the eagle flies with the dove. And if you can't be with the one you love. Woo, 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 woo. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Hey, don't fight the feeling, don't stop believing love. Come on. Once you decided, don't try to hide love. Hey, if you can feel it, then you can heal it, love. La 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 la. Woo! And if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with.
Wow.
Yeah!
Wow, Melanie and Jared, that's amazing.
Yeah!
Thank you. Oh my God, that was so much fun.
Isn't that so good?
Yes.
Felt so good.
Luther Vandross, man. Luther, we
Lifted
stole
me
that.
right up. Lifted me right
Good.
up.
Stay lifted, y'all. Vibrate higher.
Stay lifted.
Okay, so I got a couple of quick announcements for everybody. Thank
Okay.
you, Melanie and Terry. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you, and I know we will see you soon. I know we will.
It's a pleasure. I know we know it too. Blessings,
We
everybody.
love you, Jeff.
All right, so a couple announcements. Tomorrow, Jafan and I will be back to continue talking about how we're creating a bridge in the world. The Sensational Six ministerial students are no longer ministerial students. Last week, they passed their panels, so now they're ministerial graduates. So they'll be joining you on Wednesday, regular time. Karen Drucker is going to come in and sing some chants, and you know how Karen and I always play together. So Karen will have another concert on Thursday. Charles is on Friday. Charles and I will be joining hands together and talking about what's going on in the world and bringing our spiritual solutions. Of course, Saturday is meditation, and Sunday we've got another service. Everything happens at 10 o'clock every day, 10 o'clock every single day. There's something for you to join us with at the Center for Spiritual Living on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert. Just subscribe to that, and every time something comes up, it'll let you know, it'll give you a notification. So there's a donate button. Please continue to support us. Like everyone, we're going through a challenging financial time. But sometimes when people aren't coming to church, it's out of sight, out of mind. And we want to make sure that the center is there for you the way you want it to be when we come back. So please continue to actively give us your support. We greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you so very much, everybody. Thank you. And Terry, you said you have a podcast. What do you do?
Oh.
Yeah, I do. It's called Making It with Terry Wollman. You can find it at my website, terrywollman.com, or just go to iTunes, Making It with Terry Wollman.
And you can follow us on Instagram is the best. The Real Melanie Taylor.
At Terry Wollman.
Piece of cake, right?
All right,
So,
got it. Want to make sure people can still stay in touch with you. Again, thank you guys. Thank you for sharing me. Love you guys.
love you
You.
so
Love
much.
you. Have a great day,
You're welcome.
everybody.
Take
We'll
care, everybody. Thank you.
see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.